They don't hide power. They redesign reality so you never see it. What if the systems you trust, the voices you believe, the truths you defend, were carefully engineered illusions? For centuries, old power hasn't survived by force alone. It survives by remaining unseen. And behind that invisibility are laws, ancient, silent, unbreakable. Laws that don't just protect power, but bury it so deep you defend it without knowing. Tonight, you don't learn them, you notice them. Power, in its oldest and most refined form, was never loud, never desperate for attention, and never in a hurry to be seen. It did not announce itself with force, nor did it seek validation from the masses. Instead, it observed, adapted, and learned something far more dangerous: how to exist quietly within systems, unnoticed, unquestioned, and eventually accepted as part of reality itself. The strongest structures in any society are not the ones built from stone or steel. They are the ones embedded into belief. The systems that feel natural, inevitable, and permanent are rarely examined because questioning them feels unnatural. And when something feels natural, people defend it, without ever asking who designed it or why it was designed that way. Somewhere deep in history, power encountered a threat it could not destroy with force alone: exposure. It realized that visibility creates vulnerability, and attention invites resistance. The more clearly something is seen, the easier it becomes to analyze, challenge, and dismantle. And so, power made a silent decision: to disappear in plain sight, where no one would think to question it. It stopped standing at the front of systems, no longer presenting itself as the obvious authority. Instead, it moved behind institutions, behind narratives, behind layers of influence that appeared independent and disconnected. What people saw were structures, but what they never saw was what moved them. And over time, the distance between power and perception became almost impossible to measure. The first law is silence, but not the kind you hear. This is not the absence of sound, but the control of it. Power does not need to suppress every voice. It only needs to decide which voices are amplified, which are ignored, and which are quietly buried beneath distraction. Because when you control what is heard, you begin to control what is believed to exist. Information became its shield, but not through complete secrecy. Total silence raises suspicion, and suspicion invites investigation. Instead, power mastered selective exposure, releasing fragments of truth, carefully timed, carefully framed, just enough to satisfy curiosity while quietly redirecting attention away from intention. And within that controlled flow, reality itself becomes flexible. The second law is misdirection. Not by forcing people to look away, but by giving them something more compelling to look at. Something urgent, emotional, impossible to ignore. Attention is one of the most valuable resources in existence, and when it is guided with precision, truth becomes secondary. Because what people focus on slowly becomes their reality. Human beings are not driven by logic as much as they believe. They are driven by emotion, fear, hope, anger, belonging, identity. And power understands this deeply. It does not confront logic directly. It shapes feeling first. Because once emotion is engaged, questioning becomes uncomfortable, and belief becomes something personal, something people protect without thinking. The third law is normalization. Nothing begins as acceptable. Everything begins as unfamiliar, sometimes even uncomfortable. But when something is repeated consistently, subtly, over time, resistance begins to fade. What once felt strange starts to feel tolerable, then ordinary, and eventually, something that no longer stands out at all. And once something becomes routine, it disappears from awareness entirely. It blends into daily life, unquestioned, unnoticed, and unchallenged. The extraordinary becomes ordinary, and the ordinary becomes permanent. And in that transformation, power no longer needs to hide or defend itself, because no one is looking closely enough to see it anymore. But invisibility alone is not enough to guarantee survival. Power must ensure that even when people begin to question, they never arrive at the source. It must remain distant from suspicion, disconnected from consequence, and completely absent from blame. Because the safest position is not the strongest one, but the one no one ever thinks to look at. The fourth law is fragmentation. Instead of hiding truth completely, power breaks it apart into scattered pieces. It distributes these fragments across different voices, different platforms, different interpretations, creating the illusion of diversity. And in doing so, it ensures that no single perspective ever reveals the whole. When understanding is divided, clarity begins to fade. People argue over fragments, defend partial truths, and build strong opinions on incomplete foundations. And in that endless cycle of disagreement, something crucial disappears: alignment. And without alignment, there is never enough unified force to challenge what remains hidden. Even those who actively search for truth often find themselves caught within this fragmentation. They collect pieces, connect patterns, and begin to feel a growing sense of clarity forming in their minds. But just as the picture starts to take shape, something shifts. The full design remains just out of reach, distant, incomplete, almost intentional. Because the system was never meant to be fully understood, only endlessly pursued. The final law is the most subtle, and perhaps the most dangerous of them all. It does not rely on visible systems, rigid structures, or even controlled information alone. It operates through belief, the unseen force that quietly shapes perception, identity, and reality itself. Because belief does not require proof to exist, it only needs to feel true long enough to be accepted. Once people believe something belongs to them, an idea, a system, a truth, they form a deep and almost unbreakable attachment to it. And that attachment slowly transforms into protection. They defend it without being asked, justify it without being challenged, and resist anything that threatens it, even when that threat carries clarity instead of harm. At this stage, power no longer needs to defend itself or even reveal its presence. It has already transferred that responsibility to the people within the system. The structure sustains itself quietly, not through force, but through loyalty shaped over time. And those inside it become its strongest protectors, never realizing what they are truly protecting or why. And this is where the illusion reaches its highest and most convincing form. Because the most effective prison is not built with walls, barriers, or anything you can physically see. It is built within perception. When people feel free, when they believe they are choosing, they stop searching for limitations, even when those limitations quietly define the boundaries of everything around them. So the real question is not where power is hiding, or who controls it from behind the scenes. The deeper, more unsettling question is whether it was ever truly hidden at all, or if it has always existed in plain sight, woven into systems, embedded in thought, quietly shaping reality from within every layer of perception you trust. Because the moment you begin to notice it, not fully, not clearly, but subtly, something begins to change. The patterns rearrange, the structures evolve, and the form adapts once again. Power does not resist discovery. It transforms through it, becoming harder to define each time. And that is what makes it nearly impossible to ever fully expose. Because the moment you begin to notice it, not fully, not clearly, but subtly, something begins to change. The patterns rearrange, the structures evolve, and the form adapts once again. Power does not resist discovery. It transforms through it, becoming harder to define each time. And that is what makes it nearly impossible to ever fully expose.